I'm Agent Morris with the NSA.
We have identified some very, very interesting anomalous type of aircraft.
Traffic is quite luminous and is exhibiting some non-ballistic motion, over.
Move very rapidly at any speed or whether any direction it wanted to go. Fly could change and go to the right or the left or go crossways without hesitating a bit.
What do you think it was?
Well, if they call it a flying saucer, that's what it is.
EWA 517, do you want to report a UFO, over? Negative. We don't want to report.
Look, it wasn't my worst Wednesday night.
Good evening, everybody. This is Miles Lewis, and you are tuned in to another live edition of Anomaly-NOW, straight out of Austin, Texas, on this Wednesday night, November 8th, 2023. Thank you for joining us, whether you're listening live or watching the replay or listening to the replay on the audio-only podcast or going through digging into the archives sometime in the future. This is Miles Lewis with Anomaly-NOW, the weekly live news roundup show for the 501c3 nonprofit Anomaly Archives, aka Scientific Anomaly Institute, headquartered here in the heart of Texas, Austin, that wonderful, weird city that everybody keeps moving to. And you'll know it too if you visit from the insane traffic. Oh, it's wonderful. Well, man, it has been like 5 weeks since we did this live show. I believe it was October 4th when I last was talking to you, our listeners and viewers, live and streaming through our various Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, even my personal LinkedIn page occasionally, and other places. You just never know. We've got a lot of outlets that we can stream through, and we are very happy for that privilege. It's been a long time, as I say, because the week after that last time I did the live show, October 11th, was the day that my mom was coming in for a week-long visit. I had scheduled time off and was excitedly waiting to have a nice little staycation here with my mom and see her. Sadly, she started experiencing some health issues upon arriving in Texas, and it was no bueno, folks. It was not fun. It was not a vacation. Way too many hours spent in the hospital dealing with the medical community trying to help us. And the good news is Mom is fine. She's doing much better. But yeah, that kind of crashed that little wonderful family reunion such as it was, and motherly son get together. And ever since, it's been just a little rough, and have not been able to do these live shows. But you aren't here to hear all about all that. But if you've been paying attention, you know that we usually, about this time, show the website and the places that you can find us online. Of course, our website is anomalyarchives.org, and you can find links to all of our past events and our materials. Our goal and mission is the preservation of materials related to the anomalous, whether that be UFOs, consciousness, parapsychology, crop circles, Atlantis, all the things, Bermuda Triangle, cryptozoology, the things that people, particularly science people, often disrespect, disregard, disavow. And you can find links to all kinds of stuff there, including the archives of this show and links to the audio-only podcast version. You can find videos of our former location that was so wonderful and see the aisles and aisles of books as I give a tour. If you'd like to write to us, you can write to us at our new P.O. Box. That's Anomaly Archives, P.O. Box 152252, Austin, Texas 78715. That P.O. Box is there on the website, anomalyarchives.org. There's even a phone number you can call, 512-842-9046, to leave voicemail. And there's also a link there to something that is going to be going away very, very soon. And that is the Anomaly Archive. Whoa, just let that go. The Anomaly Archives merch store over at Shopify. You can find a link there at the website. That's anomaly-archives.myshopify.com. And you can find all these wonderful products. You can get your coffee mugs, your Anomaly Archives coffee mugs, your T-shirts, the wonderful Red Pill Junkie RPG Miguel Romero artwork that he designed, mouse pads, the whole gamut of stuff. But that merch store is going to be shutting down within 30 days, or about 30 days from now. And that product may or may not be available for a very, very long time. So if you're interested, go check that out. It supports our 501c3 nonprofit efforts at preservation of all these important materials, dealing with the subjects that we have been telling you about. If you don't know, we were founded in 2003, so this is our 20-year anniversary, and we are really still hoping to find a new physical location to make it easier for folks to visit the 7,000 plus books, the thousands of periodicals and paper files and digital files and media files, some of which, of course, get digitized and uploaded to the website and other outlets. So, meanwhile, if you go to our website, you can also see our wonderful Flipboard where we aggregate all of our news articles. That is flipboard.com/@Anomaly Archives. And there's a link there that will then take you to the actual aggregator that has just thousands and thousands of articles. I think it's, oh my gosh, over 21,630 archived page flips, and over 10,300 stories. I'm not sure what the difference between a page flip and a story is, but there you'll see some of the things that we'll be briefly covering tonight in this live Weekly News Roundup. There is just a ton of stuff, as there always is, and of course it's been piling up since we haven't been doing this live show for the past several weeks. Some of the stuff I don't know if we're going to, well, I know we're not going to get to, but I'm really excited. I want to read some of these. Trail in upstate New York town, reportedly a time vortex. There's a small trail in upstate New York that may have such a strong magnetic pulse, it can reportedly cause hikers to hallucinate and lose time. That's from WRRV.com with reportage from Nick Kessler. Another one is consciousness part of the fabric of the universe. I'd say yes. That's from Scientific American by Dan Falk. More than 400 years ago, Galileo showed that many everyday phenomena, such as a ball rolling down an incline or chandelier gently swinging from, you'll have to go look to the link to find out more about that. And this video, which I did get to watch, and is quite cute, dolphin megapod caught on camera. This is a PBS Nature show on their YouTube channel. But what gets me is this megapod of spinner dolphins features two different drones. One is a drone dolphin, spy dolphin, cruising along in and around the megapod of spinner dolphins, keeping an eye on it. I'm sure the spinner dolphins are just like, what is wrong with that guy? Meanwhile, there is a bird drone for shots from above. There's also just regular types of drones that you can see in some shots, but just this idea of humans spying on other animals on this planet using fake animals to try to ingratiate themselves into these herds, these pods, these flocks, etc. It just all is rather like the idea of aliens and other beings from elsewhere trying to look and sound like us to study us while they're amongst us. And so much other stuff. Rare white platypus in Widar River near Armadale is leucistic, researchers find. All kinds of great stuff. There's so much that's piled up since our last show 5 weeks ago. You should go check it out. That's at flipboard.com. Like I said, the link is there in the Anomaly-Archives.org webpage. But in the meantime, some of the things that we were going to report on are this article I read over at Vice. This is a formation I had seen video about and found rather interesting. Vice.com reports a prehistoric pyramid may have just rewritten human history, scientists claim. The pyramid of Gunung Padang in Indonesia began construction in the deep past, a new study claims, and was built by an unknown ancient people. Article by Jordan Pearson, dated November 7th, so just a day ago. It just compares this structure to, of course, the ancient pyramids in Egypt. And they're estimating that the new study is suggesting that this pyramid may be 16,000 years old, roughly 10,000 years older than the pyramid of Djoser in Egypt, long thought to be the world's oldest. And this has been published, I believe, in a peer-reviewed journal. Here we go. Ja's claims are controversial because they suggest an unknown Stone Age civilization created a monumental pyramid. Quote, people think the prehistoric age was primitive, but this monument proves that wrong, he said in 2013. Since then, the team's work has been revealed in piecemeal. Last month, they published a study in the peer-reviewed journal Archaeological Prospection that concludes the oldest parts of Gunung Padang are 27,000 to 16,000 years old, based on a range of tests, including electrical resistivity tomography, ground-penetrating radar, seismic tomography, and core sampling, among other methods. You can find some videos online that show the amazing, interesting qualities of this structure. And it, as with so many of these, it appears to be a structure built on top of a structure on top of a structure. And so I think they may be suggesting that the innermost aspects of this pyramid may in fact be particularly older than the pyramids in Egypt. Good friend and coworker Shane turned me on to this website, UnchartedX.com, which has an article and video that you can check out about these ancient marble, I believe they're presumed to be Egyptian pots, but Ancient Precision confirmed the last few months has been busy time for the Vase Scan team, led by Chris Dunn, Alex Dunn, and Nick Sierra. The team gathered in a precision lab in Danville, Illinois, to do a hands-on metrology inspection of several vases. Not only that, but many more of the remarkable ancient hardstone vases that come from pre-dynastic and early dynastic ancient Egypt have been scanned via structured light and CT X-ray, and the results are frankly astonishing. And basically what it's suggesting is that these granite, I believe that it's granite pots are machine-like lathe, like that they're so thin and so amazingly constructed that it was presumed that no civilization that far back had this capability. And of course, the question becomes how could this have been done? And as far as I can tell from what I've watched of these videos and seen of this team's work, they don't seem to be jumping to it was aliens conclusion, which is of course a good place to start, meaning not to start that way and just suggest that, as seems to be keep being discovered more and more, that there are vast arrays of knowledge that these ancient civilizations had that was lost, and that we have a hard time imagining how they could be accomplished. So you'll want to check that out. So something that we've reported on before on this show is what I call the animal rebellion. These incidents that seem to be occurring perhaps increasingly around the world of different animal species kind of going on the attack. Now, obviously, cetaceans and whales are the kinds of mammals that are known to have vastly more intelligence than a lot of other animals out there. And we've previously reported about these orcas that are seemingly targeting boats and ramming them and employing certain tactics that imply that there is some level of planning there that obviously implies intelligence, which we know they're intelligent. There's no doubt about that. But this article over at thesun.co.uk, I know it's not the most reputable site, but I think they're just reporting on the basics here. Whale rampage, orca sinks another boat off Gibraltar after relentless 45-minute attack by killer whales, quote, led by notorious White Gladis. White Gladis, a 25-foot-long mother orca, is believed by some to be the ringleader of the rampaging pod of killer whales. They did this attack, and it was the sinking of a yacht in the fourth incident of its kind in just 2 years. It is a pretty short article, but the ambush likely came from a notorious pod of whales led by an orca dubbed White Gladis, which has been apparently attacking seafarers for at least 3 years. The Polish company who were operating the boat said all attempts to rescue the boat failed before it sunk near a Moroccan port. The operator said the crew were, quote, safe, unharmed, and sound following the bizarre incident. Quote, despite attempts to bring the yacht to port by the captain, crew, and rescuers from the SAR Search and Rescue, port tugs, and the Moroccan Navy, the unit sunk near the entrance of the port of Tanger Med. Orca attacks on boats traveling through the Strait of Gibraltar, also known as Orca Alley, were first reported in 2020. One scientist even speculated that the killer whale could be acting in retaliation after a previous troubling incident. Alfredo Lopez Fernandez, a biologist from the Orca Atlantic Working Group, which is studying the encounter, said, quote, the traumatized orca is the one that started this behavior of physical contact with the boat. Scientists fear a, quote, critical moment of agony, such as a collision, may have sparked their aggression towards boats, and while there is no definitive evidence, speculate she may now be spurring fellow killer whales on to target vessels. Yeah, so there are other reports that they seem to be working in coordination. I feel for the whales. I really do. Moving right along, this website, higgypop.com. Yes, play on Iggy Pop. Higgy Pop, Paranormal News, Ghost Hunting, and Eerie Entertainment has this interesting article. Distrust of paranormal TV shows is sending viewers to YouTube. This doesn't surprise me. The crap on television in terms of reality TV and the paranormal has just gotten worse and worse and worse. And you don't have to go far to hear complaints about that. Let's see, they did a survey and they had 1,047 respondents and some interesting results, but those include streaming services such as Netflix and Amazon Prime also ranked slightly higher for credibility than television, with 20% saying these platforms were their go-to source of spooky entertainment, while 11% said they typically find the most credible paranormal shows on dedicated paranormal streaming services such as Paraflix, Paranormal Plus, or the Ghost Planet Network. Neither of those I've ever heard of, but then the ghost hunting stuff is not necessarily my particular focus or forte. But I commend them for doing this survey, getting over 1,000 respondents, and for pointing out that the TV reality shows focused on the paranormal and ghost hunting are floundering. I'm sure they're still making enough money to keep them going, but I've seen by some of the titles and subject approaches that are coming out of those channels are just really, really sad and pathetic, and actually probably doing more harm than good. The article goes on to say the survey also revealed how viewers think these sorts of shows can improve, with 74% saying they prefer more balance in a paranormal reality show. However, 14% said they prefer shows that lean more towards skepticism, whilst 12% preferred a believing slant. You can see the full results of the survey below, which was conducted in September 2023, attracting 1,047 individual respondents. And here are the questions and the respondent percentages. Pretty interesting stuff. What frustrates you the most when watching these shows? Over dramatization wins at 64%, lack of evidence at 11%, repetitive locations 1%, Inauthentic investigators, 18%. Poor production quality, 3%. Nothing, 4%. So that's over Higgy Pop. And along these lines, I'll just say, there's also this article from Vox.com, from Amityville to Annabelle, the Warrens on film are a lie. The on-screen versions of exorcists Ed and Lorraine Warren is a far cry from their real-life counterparts. This is by Aja Romano from October 31st. A Halloween article from Vox.com goes into a lot of the claims and criticisms of the Warrens and their approach to ghost hunting, paranormal investigations, and criticizes them basically for doing it with a monetary bent and worse. But it's a pretty long, in-depth article with lots of links that are worth your time and might be of interest to you. Meanwhile, there are so many folks who, of course, are trying new things and are, I think, doing the right thing. Mostly, everybody makes mistakes, but I have said many times on this show that I'm very enamored with the paranormal community created by and the entertainment storytelling efforts by, let's say, performance artists and preservationists of the occult and paranormal paramuseum, that being Greg and Dana Newkirk. This review of their new documentary, The Unbinding, is available to read over at weirdstudies.com. Weirdstudies.com. Dispatchers. The headline is Dispatches from the Inside on Planet Weird's The Unbinding. We've reported previously that there has been a little bit of controversy in the certain aspects of The Unbinding and in some of their previous works. But I'll tell you, if you've spent even just a few minutes listening to their behind-the-scenes commentary, I think you'd know that a lot of those criticisms seem to be unfounded. And while the paranormal community, the UFO community, the anomalous community, all communities, especially those dealing with the unknown and the ambiguous, can always do a better job at vetting things and trying to work harder. But I think this couple have done more to make a inclusive community and an open-minded community about the nature of paranormal investigations and research and ghost hunting. And again, they're doing preservationist work. They're trying to preserve these artifacts and stories and trying to tell better stories. And I think all of that is a good thing. Similarly, people who are inspired by that sort of thing are doing their own attempts at that, like Paranormal Pals, Megan and Brittany of Weird ATX, who also have a podcast and do their own independent paranormal truth-seeking and their own experimentation. They go out in the field and do their own efforts and I know that they, like some folks, don't like to necessarily be called paranormal investigators or researchers, but at the very least, they are historians because, like so many people doing these kinds of paranormal on-site seekings, you end up doing a lot of research about the place that you're going to. Hopefully you do a lot of historic research because you're trying to find like what could be causing some of the weird manifestations. Well, they recently had a Paranormal Pals meetup here in Austin at Radio East, which is a new coffee shop, hangout, beer garden kind of a place over in Southeast Austin. And I was very happy to promote that event through our own meetup. So if you're not familiar with the Anomaly Archives, we do have a meetup group, and we have kind of been inactive when it comes to physical in-person events for a long time, obviously largely due to the pandemic of 2020 and onward, but things are getting more back to normal, such as they are, for this weird area of study. And I was very happy to help promote that and attend that event and had a good time checking it out. And in fact, there's a table we sat at there, sans us, but it was a good time there at Radio East. And meanwhile, what's going on in the world of the UFO weird? Oh yeah, what about that AARO, All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO? Well, its director Sean Kirkpatrick is retiring for immediate release. Oh, Dateline today. Statement by Deputy Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks on the upcoming departure of All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office AARO Director Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. Yeah, you can read that press release over at defense.gov. There's other links in our Flipboard to information on like a transcript from the recent Arrow press conference that was held on Halloween. That's right. They held a press conference on Halloween. They even commented that it seemed a little fun, tongue-in-cheek. Meanwhile, that bastion of conservative news reporting, News Nation, who broke the David Grush whistleblower story, are continuing their push of information related to UAPs, UFOs, and this disclosure, this whistleblowing, etc. And we'll provide the link to that. But you can see here Ross Coulthart, who is one of the people who broke the story, interviewing Dave Grush, is now claiming that there's something fishy going on with regard to those UAP balloon, quote-unquote, shoot-downs that happened after the Chinese balloon shoot-down, the ones that happened up in Alaska, in the Arctic Circle. They're also claiming that there was one before the Chinese spy balloon, and that these are UAP. And that they're hearing from multiple sources, including confirmed there by Chris Mellon, that this kind of thing has apparently, they've been hearing these stories, and so they've been hearing it from 2 or 3 different sources and are now reporting on that because of this corroboration of these secret sources. We'll see if anything comes of that. Nothing seems to have yet really come from Grush's brushes with media exposure, but who knows? Maybe something important will finally come about because of this. We hope so. I really do. I really hope something does. Meanwhile, over on the internet, over at EuropeanConservative.com, I haven't had the chance to read this yet, but UFOs and aliens are probably not what you think. An interview with Diana Walsh-Pasulka, that being her current nom de plume after her divorce, but yeah, that's what everybody knows her by, right? So Diana has a new book coming out, and she's been doing some promotion for that, and I'm sure this interview will be very interesting. I have not had the chance to read it, but we'll provide the link to that. But if you'd like to hear an interview with her that was in advance of this book, our good friend Greg, yes, he's a doctor of weird music, doctor of weird musicology. Our good friend Greg Bishop over at Radio Misterioso did an interview back in May, or at least that's when he posted it, with Diana about this new book called Encounters, Experiences with Non-Human Intelligences. It's a very fascinating interview. Check out this interview. It's worth your time, and I'm looking forward to reading the book and hearing more about Diana's continued investigations into belief systems surrounding the UFO phenomena and people's experiences with it. And that's, I believe, more the focus of this particular book. All right, well, we're getting close to an ending point, but I want to mention my good friend and helpful volunteer, Victor. Thank you, Victor. I see you there. Victor turned me on to this cute little comic strip over at Imager, and I believe it's by somebody. Is that Owen Broadcast? I hope I've never been to this site, but maybe their account's called Nighttail. I'm really not sure, but it's a cute little comic called Fishman. Folks who are interested in the idea of tulpas and creating entities, like as was done in the infamous Philip experiment, will probably get a kick out of this comic strip, because that's basically the premise. Some guy creates Fishman, and it's a nice little cartoon. I like it. Little comic strip. Older article that Victor also talked about with me off air. VUMC scientists record powerful signal in the brain's white matter. And if I'm understanding this article and what they're talking about, it basically seems to boil down to this idea that, to me, is kind of like my founding principle when it comes to understanding strange phenomena and versus mainstream science. And that is, mainstream science, like anybody who's trying to learn something quickly, goes after the low-hanging fruit. You go after the things that are easiest to study with the instruments you have. And the things that are harder to study because you don't have the proper instrumentation, or that seem to be giving you a weaker signal that's harder to study, are not going to get your attention until you finally get around to it. And that's what this article seems to be talking about. The idea that the gray matter, the bulk of the brain that brain scientists, neuroscientists have researched for decades, is easier to study. It has a more powerful signal to record, to be recorded through our instrumentation. And therefore, the other parts of the brain, this white matter that makes up the other part of the brain, has a more subtle signal. And it's only because of new technology that we've been able to start recording and analyzing those subtle signals. So there may be a lot more to learn there. But that's something that you might want to check out. And I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that in the coming years, decades, and who knows. Lastly, I guess I will end with this article here. This article was, I think, originally published in the New York Times, but you can read it without having to deal with the paywall over at Dinyuz, DNYUZ.com. It doesn't immediately seem UFO, paranormal, Fortean related, but I think it's an important article for a number of reasons, titled "A Secret War, Strange New Wounds, and Silence from the Pentagon." And this, again, is over at DNYUZ.com. It's a very long, well-written article that goes into great detail about a group of soldiers who are experiencing a very terrible assortment of experiences. It opens with this very stark paranormal-seeming imagery. When Javier Ortiz came home from a secret mission in Syria, the ghost of a dead girl appeared to him in his kitchen. She was pale and covered in chalky dust, as if hit by an explosion, and her eyes stared at him with a glare as dark and heavy as oil. The 21-year-old Marine was part of an artillery gun crew that fought against the Islamic State, and he knew that his unit's huge cannons had killed hundreds of enemy fighters. The ghost, he was sure, was their revenge. Well, no, this is not a paranormal article. It is about the fact that increasingly, since the Vietnam War, the Gulf Wars, and now the war on terror in Iraq and Syria and elsewhere, our own soldiers have been subjected to the massive sonic booms of the cannons they are bombarding the enemy with. And those sonic booms are probably scarring their brains at a nano level. And so that scarring can't be detected until they're dead and their brains can be examined. But mice who are subjected to the same kinds of stimulus exhibit this same kind of nano level brain scarring. And the effects, of course, are very similar to PTSD and worse. And of course, as has happened in innumerable cases with the military and the government, these kinds of things don't want to be acknowledged. They aren't acknowledged. They're drummed out of the military right when they need the military's help the most, the VA hospitals the most, and they lose access to the medical care that they so desperately need because of what they've been through, and they have no way of proving that it has anything at all to do with that until maybe they're dead and their brains can be examined. This is the kind of thing that just seems so typical. There's been so many examples where the military-industrial complex has just destroyed the lives of our own soldiers, our own people who are trying to, serve their country and are just abandoned. And I would encourage you to check out this article. It's quite long and it's really worth the read. And I think they've done a really good job in describing and interviewing people and trying to get some answers here. All right. Well, as previously mentioned, we are going to be sometime in the next, probably in about 30 days, we're going to be shutting down our merch store, our Shopify store, where you can get, like I said, the awesome, great Anomaly Archives merch, the shirts, the mugs, all kinds of great stuff. And if you want to get your orders in, now's the time, because there's only going to be about 30 days left. So check it out. Don't know when we'll be able to offer that again in the future, but it's some great stuff. And I highly recommend you do it. It helps support our efforts here. Please help. All right. And on that note, here's more about the wonderful artwork and merge.
Behold the Anomaly Archives poster. Gaze upon its magnificence. But please keep it down, for there is Shashi the alien. Do not be alarmed. But who is that mysterious MIB digging deep into the files? Steady your gaze. Patty the cryptid is elusive, and to catch even a faint glimpse is quite an achievement. Thrill at the horror of a living challenged apparition who has stopped by to study a forgotten tome. Elsewhere, scattered about, the keen eye will observe artifacts of sacred and forgotten lore. After a long gaze one may grow envious and wish to possess a physical manifestation of this grand visage. What once seemed like an insurmountable expedition is now made into an effortless side quest. For now, at the Archives shop, one can find this thrilling representation available for acquisition, where, among the usual wares, denizens of this fair land will find this and other scrolls, exquisite apparel, hot beverage drinking vessels, and a plethora of other treasures. Enough to satisfy the desires of any who seek the most elusive emotion of all, fulfillment.